Every parent has had that moment. You walk into a room full of people, grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, everyone cooing and reaching and competing for the baby's attention, and then the baby sees you, and everything else disappears. Not because you made a funny noise, not because you were the loudest, but because something deep inside that tiny brain fired in a way it doesn't fire for anyone else in that room. Most people call it bonding. They say it like it's simple, like it's just love doing what love does. But developmental neuroscientists have a very different explanation. And what they found inside infant brains when a primary caregiver enters the room doesn't just explain that moment. It explains why the parent-child bond is the single most powerful neurological event in human development. These aren't cute behaviors. These are biological signals. Your baby's brain running a program so ancient, so precise, so hardwired into our species that no amount of time or evolution has touched it. Here are the 6 signs that a baby has chosen you, not just as a caregiver, as their person. Sign 1, they cry differently for you. Here's something most parents notice, but almost nobody talks about. Your baby has different cries for different people. When a stranger holds them and they're uncomfortable, they cry. But when you're the one who triggered the tears, something different happens. The cry is sharper, more urgent, almost indignant, like they're not just uncomfortable, like they're betrayed. That's not a coincidence. That's neuroscience. Researchers at the University of St. Andrews published findings showing that by as early as 8 weeks, infants modulate the intensity and pitch of their cries based on who they're crying to. A generic distress cry goes out to the room. But the cry aimed at a primary caregiver carries a specific signal layered into it. More urgency, more expectation, more demand. Why? Because their brain already knows the difference between a person who might help and a person who will help. Think about what that means. At 8 weeks old, before they can sit, before they can speak, before they can do almost anything, your baby has already built a mental model of you as someone who responds, someone reliable, someone who comes. The cry isn't just distress. It's trust expressed the only way they currently know how. And here's the part that changes everything. If you've ever felt guilty for not responding fast enough, for letting them cry an extra minute while you finish something, understand this. What matters to the developing brain isn't speed, it's consistency. The research is clear. It's not about being there instantly every time, it's about being there reliably over time. Your baby isn't tracking your reaction time, they're tracking your pattern. Sign 2. They use your face as a GPS. You're at a birthday party. Someone brings out a balloon animal, bright, strange, new. You watch your baby's face. First, they look at the object. Then, before they decide how to feel about it, they look at you. That half-second glance is one of the most studied behaviors in all of developmental psychology. It's called social referencing. And the fact that your baby does it with you, specifically with you and not with the nearest available adult, is one of the clearest signs that they have identified you as their primary emotional anchor. Researchers at the University of Washington found that by 6 months, babies actively scan their caregiver's face before deciding how to respond to anything unfamiliar. Not after, before. Your emotional reaction becomes their permission slip. You look nervous, they pull back. You look curious, they reach forward. You look calm, they explore. But here's what makes this a sign of parental recognition specifically. Babies don't do this with everyone. Studies show they preferentially reference the face of their primary caregiver over any other adult in the room, including familiar relatives they see regularly. They're not just reading faces. They're reading your face because your face is the one that means something. Your baby has essentially installed you as their emotional operating system. Every new experience gets filtered through your reaction first. You are not just their parent, you are the lens through which they experience the entire world. And that means something you probably haven't fully processed yet. Every time you respond to their glance with calm, with warmth, with curiosity, you are literally shaping what the world feels like to them. Sign 3, your smell stops them cold. This one surprises people every time. A crying infant, nothing is working. The rocking, the shushing, the bouncing, all of it useless. Then someone hands them a piece of your clothing, an unwashed shirt, a worn sleep shirt, nothing special. And within seconds, the crying slows, sometimes stops entirely. This is not folklore, this is published neuroscience. Researchers at the University of Manhattan and multiple independent labs have documented that newborns, within days of birth, can identify their primary caregiver's scent with striking accuracy. Not just recognize it, physiologically respond to it, heart rate drops, cortisol levels fall, muscle tension releases. Your smell triggers a neurochemical response in your baby's brain that no medication, no device, no intervention can fully replicate. But here's the part that stops researchers cold. This olfactory recognition isn't passive. It's preferential. When given the choice between the scent of a stranger and the scent of their caregiver, infants orient their bodies toward the caregiver's scent even in sleep. Even while unconscious, their nervous system is reaching for you. This is ancient biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. In our evolutionary past, smell was the first and most reliable signal of safety. Before vision fully develops, before language exists, before any sophisticated social processing is possible, your scent tells your baby's nervous system one thing with absolute certainty. You're home. Sign 4. They saved their real smile for you. Every parent knows the social smile, the polite grin babies deploy for relatives, for strangers who lean in too close, for anyone making sufficiently ridiculous noises in their direction. It looks like a smile, it has the basic structure of a smile, but it isn't the same smile. By 3 months, researchers have documented that infants produce 2 neurologically distinct categories of smiling behavior. The Duchenne smile, named after French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne, involves involuntary activation of the muscles around the eyes, the crinkling, the cheek lift, the total face involvement. The non-Duchenne smile involves only the mouth. Here's what decades of emotion research have established. You cannot fake a Duchenne smile. The muscles around the eyes are not under voluntary control. That smile, the real one, the one that takes over their whole face and makes their eyes disappear, can only be triggered by genuine emotional response. And studies of infant facial behavior show that primary caregivers receive Duchenne smiles at significantly higher rates than any other person in the infant's social environment. They're not smiling more at you because you're funnier. They're smiling differently at you because of what you represent in their nervous system. Safety, certainty, joy without risk. So the next time your baby looks at you and that smile takes over their entire face, understand what you're actually seeing. That is not a social performance. That is their brain's honest report of how it feels when you're near. You cannot buy that smile, you cannot borrow it, you have to earn it, and the fact that they give it to you means you already have. Sign 5. They fall apart. When you leave, and only you will do. When you return, you've seen it happen. You hand the baby to someone perfectly capable, someone kind, someone familiar, someone who loves them, and the baby loses it completely. Meanwhile, that same baby was perfectly content 5 minutes ago. This is called separation protest, and the fact that it happens specifically when you leave, not when others leave, is one of the most definitive neurological markers of primary attachment. John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist whose attachment theory reshaped modern developmental psychology, spent decades documenting exactly this behavior. The protest isn't random distress, it's targeted, it's specific. It is the infant nervous system detecting the removal of its primary regulatory anchor and responding with an alarm signal calibrated precisely to bring that anchor back. Your baby doesn't fall apart because they're dramatic. They fall apart because their nervous system has correctly identified that the one person most responsible for their biological regulation just left the room. But here's the detail that most parenting articles miss. Separation protest peaks between 8 and 18 months, which coincidentally is exactly the window when the brain's social architecture is under the most intensive construction. It doesn't mean you're raising an anxious child, it means you've built an attachment strong enough to trigger protest when threatened. Secure attachment and separation protest are not opposites. They are the same thing seen from 2 different angles. And when you return, when they reach for you specifically, when they calm the moment you pick them up in a way they don't calm for anyone else, that's not dependence. That is the most sophisticated emotional system on Earth running exactly the way it was designed to run. You are their regulation, and they know it. Sign 6. They mirror you before. They mirror anyone else. Watch a baby closely when their parent talks to them. Not just the eye contact, the whole face. The eyebrows lift when yours lift. The mouth opens slightly when yours does. A frown crosses their face a half second after it crosses yours. They are tracking you at a level of detail that most adults never consciously achieve with another person. This is called facial mimicry. And while babies do it to some degree with all faces, The depth and speed of mimicry is significantly amplified with primary caregivers. Researchers using high-speed cameras and electromyography, sensors that measure muscle activity too subtle for the naked eye to detect, found that infants as young as 6 weeks show measurably faster and more precise facial mimicry responses when engaging with their primary caregiver versus any other adult. Why does speed matter? Because faster mimicry signals deeper neural attunement. Their brain has built a more detailed internal model of your face than of any other face on Earth. It can predict your expressions before they fully form. It can respond to micro movements that happen in milliseconds. Your baby knows your face better than you know your own. But here's what makes this sign genuinely remarkable. Facial mimicry in infants isn't just imitation. Neuroscientists believe it's the mechanism through which empathy itself gets built. When your baby mirrors your smile, they're not just copying a shape. They're generating the internal emotional state that corresponds to that shape. They are practicing what it feels like to feel what you feel. You are not just their parent, you are the original source of their emotional vocabulary. Every expression you make, every feeling that crosses your face, is teaching them what human emotion looks like, feels like, and means. The way they'll understand love, joy, fear, and comfort for the rest of their lives began in the mirror of your face. What this all means. 6 signs, 6 ways your baby's brain is telling you something it doesn't have words for yet. The different cry that says, "I know you'll come." The glance before every new experience that says, "Tell me how to feel." The way your smell reaches them even when nothing else can. The smile they save that isn't for anyone else. The protest that says, "You are the one I need." The mimicry that turns your face into their first emotional education. None of this is coincidence. None of it is simple. It is the product of hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, building the most efficient attachment system the natural world has ever produced. And at the center of all of it is you. Not because you're perfect, not because you never put them down too long or handed them off when you needed a moment or missed a cue when you were exhausted at 3 a.m. Because you showed up, consistently, reliably, imperfectly, and real. That's what their brain was looking for. Not a flawless caregiver, a present one. So the next time you walk into that room and everything shifts, the next time that tiny face reorganizes itself around the fact of your arrival, remember what's actually happening. Their brain built a home and they built it out of you. If this gave you a new way to see your baby, you're in the right place. Baby Secrets is where the science of infancy meets the reality of parenthood. Subscribe and drop a comment below. I want to know, which of these 6 signs stopped you cold? Because there's a good chance you've been seeing it every day without knowing exactly what it meant. And if you want to know why babies fight sleep even when they're exhausted, even when their eyes are closing and their body is limp and they still won't let go, that's the next video. And the reason is stranger than you think.